Hey guys, welcome back to the Leverage Advantage Show. And today we're very honored, very grateful, and very humbled to have two-time author and international speaker and podcast host Kim Orlesky with us. Now, she is the leading sales coach, and she was named the most inspirational blogger of 2015 by Success Magazine. I think one of the most interesting things that I read about her is that after 9 years in corporate sales, in 2014, Kim courageously, she quit her life and backpacked solo around the world, reaching over 17 countries on 4 continents. She now uses her mastery in sales to inspire sales professionals and entrepreneurs to make communication shifts that lead to stronger relationships and more revenue. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Brazil, for having me. I really appreciate it.
I really wanted to have you on the show because, as a salesman myself, I'm an entrepreneur, but, I think a lot of people don't realize how important sales as a skill is to owning a small and medium enterprise. Can you share with us a little bit about your story and how you get to where you are?
Yeah. Sales is one of those things where I think it definitely has a love-hate relationship. A lot of people associate immediately sales with this, that idea of a used car salesman, right? The dirty, slimy person. And I was no different when I graduated university and my first job came to me. They offered me a sales role. And I thought, this is so below me. I'm university educated. Why would I ever work in sales? And it was one of those things that became completely life-changing because I realized that sales is not something that we do to someone. It's something that we do with someone, right? We are in the service of helping other people, other businesses grow and expand. And it becomes really one of those skill sets that is based around abundance more so than it is, give and take, right? That in order for one person to win, someone has to lose. And that is definitely not the case. So I worked in corporate sales for 9 years, like you had said in my introduction there, American Express, Xerox, a few other Fortune 500 type of companies. And now I go and I teach small, medium-sized businesses as well as single entrepreneurs specializing in business-to-business, high-value sales on how to have better conversations. How do you create those questions and how do you create that engagement with somebody?
I love what you said about it really not being a zero-sum game, right? There's just so much in what you said to unpack. It's not something you do to someone, it's something you do with someone as well that you mentioned. And I was just having this conversation at dinner. I just came from a really long dinner appointment, right? And I was explaining to them the process that I use when I do my sales. And it's really about helping them get clarity over the value that they're going to receive. Because my mentor taught me this, right? My mentors taught me that marketing is all about curiosity, it's about drawing them in or seducing them. And sales is all about clarity because a confused mind doesn't act. And it's really about helping them see your point of view, and helping them understand the value that they're going to get. And the people that have a challenge with sales, I think a lot of times is because their focus is on the money they're going to get. So they see it as I'm taking something from you rather than giving. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right in saying that, their focus is not correct. And yes, there are certain sales reps out there that are focused on the commission dollars, but I find even more so the ones that struggle are focused on the product and service particularly, as opposed to the ultimate destination that we're taking to our clients. When I'm on stage and speaking to groups of people, I often compare this to, I call it the transportation versus destination conversation, right? And when an airline goes ahead and sells you, a vacation, right? You're in Malaysia right now. So, they might go to the islands or something else like this, right? But who knows, maybe they're trying to get you to go to, Australia. And they'll talk to you about how beautiful it is, right? And how wonderful it is. But the airline's actually selling seats on a plane. right? And when we dissect that, they're not focused on what they're literally selling you. They're focused on where they're going to get you. And the best salespeople are focused on the ultimate destination, right? To the wizard in the Wizard of Oz, right? Not necessarily the golden path that you need to follow. So focus on where you need to take your client, where that ultimate destination is going to be after they're done working with your product and service, and not focused on what the actual product and service is, right? Not what it does, but what it will do for someone.
Awesome. And I just wanted to share with you as well. Another thing one of my mentors taught me is this. If you know if you know you have a product that is undeniably going to change somebody's life, it is your responsibility to help them see the value that it's going to get. I mean, whenever it comes to sales, I think most people get this, there's always very defensive. For a lot of people that feel they're being sold to, they get very defensive. And that's the thing. We don't try to sell to them. I'm not trying to sell you. I'm helping you make a buying decision, right? I'm helping you see the value in what I'm going to share with you. And that was one thing that if there was one thing that actually changed my perspective on selling, that was it. What do you, if there was one big tip to help people improve their sales? I know there are just so many, and your expertise is so deep, but if there was one thing they could share with the audience on how they can improve their sales and see a huge impact immediately, what would that be?
Ask more questions. That's it. Spend less time talking and more time asking the questions. Your client will determine what the value is and means to them. They will tell you what that return on investment ultimately means to them. They will tell you what is important to them, if it's price, if it's quality, if it's service. All we have to do is just ask more questions. And when you think you're done asking questions, ask more questions. Nobody ever felt that they were being sold to when they were just answering questions. The reason why people feel like they're being sold to is because they're being told what to do, right? Go this way. This is why our product is better. Bum, 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 bum. And the person sits there with a veil of skepticism thinking, I don't know if that really applies to me. But the moment we ask questions and the client says it, now it becomes true because it's true to them, right? So there is no idea of being sold to, right, when we're asking pure questions.
And are there any specific, okay, so I think maybe this might be too specific a question.
No, go for it.
are there any specific questions that they should ask? Or maybe if that's too specific, perhaps a better question would be, what would the objective of these questions be? I mean, of course, attaining information which will then help you become ammunition, so to speak, to in helping them make that buying decision. But what would the objective of these questions be? And are there any specific questions you feel that salespeople should ask?
Yeah. So, I mean, you bring up a really good point, because when I'm sitting there and teaching my classes or, going on stage, the first thing we talk about is the intention of every interaction, right? So first of all, it's not my job to tell you what the intention is of your interaction. But if we go right back into every single step of the sales cycle, the intention of the cold call is to get the meeting. And the intention of the meeting is to get the next meeting. And so we ask enough questions in order to get to that end game. If you don't know where you want to take your client, how do you not know you're already there? Right? I mean, Alice in Wonderland and the Cheshire Cat said that, right? When Alice was like, where do I go? And he goes, well, where do you want to go? I don't know. Then you might already be here, right? So you have to know where you want to take the client in order. So maybe you're creating value. Maybe you're getting to a point where, you know what, we're done. Like, we need to get to proposal stage. So you're asking questions to ensure that, is that the next appropriate step? Now, the best questions to ask are the ones that are meaningful to the clients, right? Where do you want to be? What are your goals? Why is that important to you? Where will you be? What kind of company will you become when you're able to give more profitability back to your employees, to your shareholders, to your clients? If you are the first one in the marketplace to offer this product or service, how would that position you for future revenue and growth? Right? All these questions, they might not seem like they're relevant at the time, but when you're able to align your product and service to where the client ultimately wants to be, here's where they are, here's where they want to be, your product and service is the bridge between the two of them.
That's excellent. What you just said, like, totally hit the nail on the head, because we have a very similar sales process, and I'm just going to share with you and the
Yeah,
audience,
go for it.
right? So we basically have a 5-step process where we take people when we're doing the sales, and it's all about questions. So the first question we
Yes.
ask is, where are you? So tell me a little bit about your business, where you are, what's your current status. So that's step number one. Step number two
Yeah.
is I always ask them, what does success look like for you? Where do you want to be in 12 months, right? And so now they have these two locations, or these 2 points. What's in between is that tension. So what do you think are the challenges that are stopping you from getting you here right now? So then they tell us about all these different problems. That's great. When your client, or when your potential client, tells you about all the problems and the challenges that they're facing, that is good news for you, because these are opportunities that you can use, that you can solve. So when you solve these problems, that's where your value lies. So the next thing we do in that the third step is, we ask them what their challenges are. The fourth step is we show them in depth how we solve those problems for other people. And then in the fifth step, in the fifth step, we basically ask them if they would like us to help them solve those problems cheaper, faster, with less pain. And that's basically our entire sales process. It's just five, well, it's not really 5 questions, but 5 phases of questions.
Absolutely, right? And it's important, I mean, storytelling is so valuable because it allows somebody to put themselves in the shoes of somebody else that has, benefited from your service, right? It's one thing when we say, listen, ABC customer was able to get, 20% more return on their investment and, essentially bring in an extra $200,000 per year. It's another thing when we tell a story from an individual's point of view and we say, John, the head of procurement, championed this entire project and was able to bring our project to market. And with that, they brought in an extra 20% in revenue, $200,000 in additional revenue. And now John is positioned for his next promotion. Same story, right? We've now put this single person as the hero in the story. And when we're telling that story, it's not just like he's feeling like it's out here, but now we're personifying John as a part of that decision-making process. And it has much more meaning and impact to the client.
Exactly. And I think it's really worthwhile to note, specifically with that, is when you have case studies to back up your sales process, that what that really does is it engages people who are left brain, who are story focused, who are right brain, who are story focused, and then left brain, who are number focused. And it also gives them a lot of social proof. And when you have an avalanche of social proof, it makes their decision making process so much easier.
Yeah.
We were having a chat before we went on camera, and you were talking about your sales training. You actually teach people how to improve their sales. Can you share with us a little bit more about that?
I do, yeah. So when I created KO Sales U, which is the flagship sales training for my company, it's focused on business to business, high value services. And we did a few different things a lot differently, right? From coming from the sales world, our old sales strategy was to put you in a boardroom for 3 days, sequester you, teach you everything about sales, and then send you on your way. And the problem is that the studies show that you only retain 10 to 15% of the information. So we broke this out into multiple weeks, and we actually take you step by step through the sales process. So you learn a little bit, you go out and you apply it to your clients. You come back, you learn a little bit more, you go out and apply it to your clients. Because sales is a step-by-step process, right? That, to sit there for 3 days and take in all the information doesn't actually replicate the amount of value that we're creating. Sometimes value for our clients is created in the time space that we actually take between our meetings. And so we want to allow that engagement, and we want to allow that as part of not only our training, but the way we're actually approaching our clients. So the nice thing is that all the classrooms are done via Zoom, right? You actually get a dedicated trainer, and we're put in a classroom. Everybody sits there for 90 minutes, and we go through the entire process. And this goes for small, medium-sized businesses, as well as single entrepreneurs. We have a class for everybody.
That's awesome. Like, I think a lot of people, you see, especially when we talk about small and medium enterprises that are B2B, going into that high ticket sales conversation can be really, really daunting for a lot of people. Like, it's easy to sell something for $10, $20, $40. When you're talking about $40,000, you're talking about $100,000 over 12 months. That is a sales conversation that requires a lot of practice. And you don't want to be practicing live. You don't want to be, having your first sales call. You don't want to be having your first sales conversation at $100,000 level and like never having practiced what to say. So, I think that is extremely useful for any entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about the kind of results that you've gotten from people that have taken your program.
It's, you know what, it's night and day. So I did do the old school, like 3 days in the boardroom type of sales, because as salespeople, this is how we're taught how to sell. So when we become sales trainers, we're like, okay, well, this is how I learned. And when I did that originally, what I ended up finding was that people would leave the classroom. They're like, I learned so much information. It was so good. But when I called them a month later, they were practicing almost nothing. Right? They got their 2 or 3 big tidbits and then that was it. And now that we've broken it out into a long-term sales cycle, because part of this is actually going through that sales mindset, through the emotions that we go through about, like we talked about, right? I don't want to sell to anybody. I don't want to come across salesy. I don't want to come across pushy. Who am I to ask these questions? And when we go through much slower through this process, right, they realize that, oh, now I get it. And, when these small classroom sizes, we're actually seeing people make dramatic shifts in results. By the end of the it's a 10-week course over the course of 12 weeks. By the end of that 12 weeks, people are actually walking out of the course with their deals done. I actually give testimonials to future students if they ask for them of people currently in the course, which is so much more powerful than somebody who's taken the information and tried to do it on their own, right? We're actually giving them all the tools, resources, and support, not just for the sales mindset, but for the entire sales cycle.
That's awesome. And I think it's also important to note this. I don't believe in certificates. I don't believe in going to a 3-day program and then giving out a certificate. How do you know that you've actually learned sales is when you've made a sale, right? And so you absolutely. What I love about your program is it's all about practice. It's all about, I'm going to teach you over 12 weeks, what you're going to do. And I think another thing that's important to note is this: a lot of sales, especially in the beginning, if you're not good at sales and you want to get good at it, a lot of it is a lot of emotional work that you got to do inside. You got to get out of your mind and stop thinking that you're exploiting people, because you're not. You're actually helping them. And I think that's the biggest barriers that people have to break down in order to start getting good at sales.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. We do a lot of role play, right? I'm a huge proponent of role play. We do a lot of there's homework. Like, this is a comprehensive course, right? There's a lot of homework that needs to be done. You have a trainer, you have somebody checking your homework. And the other thing is, because we're doing it over such a long period of time, right? For most individuals, right, depending on, what their sales process looks like already, and that's the sales length. But for most people, we actually guarantee the results. Right. And so, that's a huge difference. When somebody's willing to say, as a salesperson, I say, listen, not only am I going to show you how to do this, but I'm going to guarantee you that you're going to get there. Right. That's, a night and day. Right. And I think that's for why we've been able to grow our business as fast as we have. Because number one, we're putting our money where our mouth is. Right. And we are in it with our clients, because number one, I don't want to have to give anybody checks back. Right. So I'm like, okay, we're both in it.
No, I don't want to give any money back either. The key to doing good business is getting the money, getting the sale, and keeping it.
Right. But it's the way we value the value we put into our business, into our clients, is always constantly do better, right? And make sure that everybody, the struggle with sales training for most sales trainers is that you are a one-time product or service. Maybe somebody will come back to you in a year or 2 years, but the only way you can really grow is by doing so well with your current base that it starts to spread like wildfire, right? As everyone's like, you got to talk to, Fazil if you want to. You got to talk to Kim. Those are the trainings that actually work.
Absolutely. Kim, it's been an absolute pleasure. If people want to know more about you and what you do, where can they go?
Yeah, you know what? My website is the best place to go to. It's kimorlesky.com. It has all the information, everything for my speaking events, as well as the courses, the materials. And I do a weekly 2-minute video for any sales tips and everything. So you can check me out on LinkedIn, or when you're on my subscriber list, you'll get that every single week.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm very humbled, very honored, very grateful that you decided to spend the time with us to share your
Thank
expertise
you.
with our audience.
Thank you. I loved every moment of it. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey there, thanks so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, check out the relevant video here, and don't forget to subscribe to us for more marketing tips, techniques, strategies that are working for us, or just more behind the scenes fun. See ya!